It's scary to see what's happening.
I'm a liberal and a proud socialist, Mr. Speaker.
Inflection point. What is this upheaval which is going to the roots of humanity itself? They all come down to one fundamental question. Does capitalist democracy still work? You know it's a must. Gotta have a friend in Jesus. So you know that when you die, he's gonna recommend you to the spirit in the sky.
Advice. I said that if you actually say it louder, we've learned in the House of Commons, if you repeat it, if you say it louder, if that is your talking point, people will totally believe it.
Never been a sinner, I never sinned. I got a friend in Jesus. So you know that when I die, it's gonna set me up with the spirit in the sky. Oh, set me up with the spirit in the sky.
It's important to underline that close to 90% of truckers in this country are vaccinated, like close to 90% of Canadians. Over the past many months and years now, Canadians have stepped up to protect each other, to protect our frontline workers, to protect our elders, to protect our young people. Canadians have stepped up to do the right thing, to protect the freedoms and the rights of Canadians to get back to the things we love to do. We know the way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated.
Live. How late is it here right now? It is 9:51 p.m.
And the overwhelming majority, close to 90% of Canadians, have done exactly that. The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views.
All right, welcome back, guys and girls.
That they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country.
Let me assure the people of Ottawa that we have no intent to stay one day longer than necessary.
I went out to an overpass like many people did, and I went and stood on the overpass. I heard that people were going to be there, and there was a couple hundred people there, and I was blown away right from the start. I was just there waving a flag, and I saw the shed truck go by on the way to Ottawa, thinking like, hey, that looks cool. But I decided I got to head to Ottawa, like many others. So I headed down to Wellington Street. I wanted to get involved and to help, so I started jumping in trucks, and one of the first trucks I jumped into was the shed truck. So I started working, sort of basing out of the shed became our little base of operations, and we were just trying to pull people together. We started off meeting with maybe half a dozen truckers from that area at the start, and everyone was equally confused as to what was going on. And someone got the bright idea to stick a platform up on the top of the truck, and served as like a media stage, and that evolved into getting people up there and like doing interviews. So there was a group of us were doing like just little Instagram videos and whatnot. And
Police is taking a picture for his Instagram or for an investigation. I don't know.
I don't trust the mainstream media. We want to know what's really going on. And I saw so much misinformation from mainstream media, just downright lies that were being presented by the news. So that was just further inspiration.
I do ask that because, given Canada's support of Ukraine in this current crisis with Russia, I don't know if it's far-fetched to ask, but there is concern that Russian actors could be continuing to fuel things as this protest grows, but perhaps even instigating it from the outset.
I'm going to defer to our partners in the public safety, the trained officials and experts in that area.
The CBC's coverage of Freedom Convoy is overwhelmingly negative. No, wait, it's completely negative. If you go on the cbc.ca's website and you search for Freedom Convoy, you'll find 1,740 articles.
Everything, as people will know, that everything that was filmed downtown just started like blowing up because everyone wanted to see what is really happening here.
What are you talking about, truckers? I haven't seen anything on the news. I'm like, you haven't seen anything? I haven't seen anything on the news. You don't know what's going on with truckers? No, I read Wall Street Journal and New York Times. I know nothing about what's going on in Canadian truckers.
Justin Trudeau, but he was talking about people who are not vaccinated. He said they don't believe in science. They're often misogynistic, often racist. No, they're not.
Really, around the world, that this story is getting attention, and this is the Ottawa that people, again, around the world are seeing, where there are protesters.
It's a giant convoy of trucks. That's apparently some insane amount of people, like 50,000 trucks, that are headed to Ottawa to protest the vaccine mandates.
And they're all coming from Canada because
they're
not
all
allowed to
in
come
Canada. They're all in Canada. It's all Canadian truckers.
He said, but they take up space. And with that, we have to make a choice in terms of a leader as a country. Do we tolerate these people? It's like, tolerate them? Now you do sound like Hitler.
It's all Canadian truckers. because apparently they're all being mandated that they have to get vaccinated, and they're like, hey, we don't even contact anybody. We're in our truck.
Yeah,
like we
that's true.
we just drive.
With me now is Jim Watson. He is the mayor of Ottawa. Mr. Mayor, so glad you could be with us. What are you bracing for today?
Yeah, the people of Ottawa have been more than patient with these protesters. As you pointed out, they've really hurt their cause tremendously by going and taking free meals from the Shepherds of Good Hope, a soup kitchen for the homeless.
Afternoon from Ottawa. I'm here at the Shepherds of Good Hope. It's a homeless shelter and kitchen, and we had so much excess food for the trucker convoy that we have brought a truckload of food down.
Urinating on the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, dancing on it.
I've never so here, what I'm asking, are you guys staying here 24/7 all night to guard this?
We're staying pretty
I
much
hope
all
so.
the time.
Like
Yeah.
all the time?
Yeah.
So you guys are going to guard this now for us.
That's what we were doing before. And we had so much excess food for the trucker convoy that we have brought a truckload of food down here to donate. And I just wanted to share this with everyone.
And it's very difficult to actually find out who exactly is running this show. Is you've made your point, you've had your speeches, it's time to move on.
You know, people don't understand that the mainstream media is saying it's a couple of truckers talking about, you know, the unvaccinated truckers that can't cross the border. This is a hell of a lot more than that. I don't care if you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, this is about freedom of choice. I want my child to be able to go to university without having to be vaccinated. It's his choice, it's his right, it's his freedom. I'm also fighting for the nurses that have been fired. A lot of posts on Facebook going around, support the nurses and the doctors, the frontline workers. Well, exactly, that's why we're here. A lot of them been fired because of freedom of conscience or freedom of religion. They don't want to be oppressed and they've lost their jobs. We're also fighting for the children who are going to school, and there's a 300% increase in speech impediment because a child needs to be able to see their teacher's face. People are just not understanding why we're here. We're fighting for the children who've never had a birthday party. We're fighting for the children who don't understand what it's like to live a life without a mask. That has not been normal. This is the new normal. This is the Canada I grew up in. This is the kind of Canada that I love and that I believe.
I take it you know that when the protesters arrived on January 28th up to February 1st, that the evidence to date is that they were largely and completely peaceful and that there was little to no violence. Do you agree with that?
And again, I think there might have been isolated incidents, and frankly, I also believe the carrying of hateful symbols like a Nazi flag is in many ways causing fear, and it is a form of violence and intimidation against people who would be caused to be very fearful about such symbols in their community.
And so
I know you're wondering about what you saw in our capital city this weekend. Freedom of expression, assembly, and association are cornerstones of democracy, but Nazi symbolism, racist imagery, and desecration of war memorials are not.
It's like, what's happened? Welcome to the working class, those truckers. Well, they're all white supremacists and racists. It's like, really, in Canada, are they now? White supremacists, really?
The flying of Confederate flags, the demonstration of swastikas on our Parliament Hill.
Speaker, I am not interested in speaking to somebody who waves a swastika.
People that are, waving flags that have swastikas drawn on them.
What have we seen? We've seen swastikas.
We saw Confederate flags. We saw swastikas.
Well, the swastika is obviously a symbol of the Third Reich. It harkens back to Nazi Germany.
But we see, for example, swastikas.
The people are flying the swastika.
I'm compassionate to the Jewish people who saw swastika and Nazi flags.
Nazis in Canada. There aren't any of them. There was some dimwit was waving a Confederate flag at the rally. And the truckers, he was masked. The truckers stripped him of his mask and chased him away. But all the mainstream press reported Confederate flags at the trucker rally.
We are learning more tonight about the motivations of a trucker at the convoy in the Capitol last year who was at the center of a mystery that's now been solved.
This pickup was photographed flying a Confederate flag, a symbol seen as an offensive reminder of slavery and racism.
It's not like there are a lot of Canadians, by the way, flying the Confederate flag. First of all, that's not our country.
Exactly.
And second, most Canadians, I would say, don't really know in any deep sense what the Confederate flag stands for. I mean, you know, people aren't that informed, and I'm not being condescending.
The truck was spotted several more times over the first weekend, the identity of the driver unknown. The mystery pickup was in fact driven by a convoy supporter, not a saboteur.
I'm the one who had the truck, and I didn't work for no government.
Maurice Landriot is a roofer who sees nothing wrong with the image he displayed on his truck and on his cap.
They're telling me that it's racist and everything. Well, it's not racist. I go, where did you get that? Like, you guys making it racist.
He first bought the flag 3 years ago to take to a concert by Southern rock band Leonard Skinner.
I look at it as the rebel sign. It was always known as the rebel. Like, during the war, they were called the rebels.
Welcome everyone, I'm back. Another live stream. We're here on King Edward, Murray Street, by the Shepherds of Good Hope. And we're about to go check out day 4 of protests.
Day 4 of the takeover of the Ambassador Bridge here. Have a look at the bridge. So as of last night, no trucks are able to go into the United States, and for the last 4 days, no trucks have been able to come into Canada. That's the point of these protesters here. We do continue to see many of the semi-trailers, but not all that many. There are more pickup trucks and other vehicles. And today there are some additional people that have moved in just behind me here.
Fake news. Fake news.
Now, the media is still not exactly welcome here, but compared to what we saw in Ottawa and in Toronto and what we saw here earlier, some people are actually watching the coverage. And one gentleman told us that he thinks that the coverage is actually fair.
You just do a piece on the news the other day?
I've been doing it for weeks, yeah.
I saw you.
Yeah.
I was watching you, and I thought, this is a man who's reporting the news. Right down the middle with no agenda. You're out here on the street reporting what's really going on. I am so proud of you. I want to see more people like you.
Well, that's the nicest thing anybody's said in a while, so thanks very much.
Like, there's too many out there that are bringing the news, but they're bringing an agenda. Like, news people are supposed to bring us the news, and we're supposed to be smart enough to figure out, okay, I heard this guy and I heard that guy, but now I know where I'm going to go. I can put this together and figure out the truth. And you're doing your job. I was getting so depressed that, are there any news people, are there any journalists left? Anybody who really wants to dig out the truth and put out the truth, because that's what they live for, finding the truth. And I feel like you're one of the men. You're doing it. Thanks very much. So proud.
All right, thanks very much, sir.
Thank you. God bless you. All the best.
We need you to stay in your home for a couple of weeks. It's for the greater good. We need you to close your business just for a short time. It's for the greater good. Just a little bit longer than 2 weeks. It's for the greater good. We need you to wear this on your face. It's for the greater good. We need you to wear 2 of these on your face. It's for the greater good. We need you to inject this into your body. It's for the greater good. We need you to spend the holidays alone. It's for the greater good. You must inject this into your body if you want to feed your family. It's for the greater good.
When residents can't get to work, when they can't take their children to school, when seniors can't get around because public transportation can't get to them, when People who live in apartment buildings find that their front doors are locked and that fires are set in the hallways and corridors. It is...
Un instant, Monsieur le Ministre. Oui, Monsieur Mott. That statement right there has been proven false. There is no connection to the protesters whatsoever. And for this minister to suggest that is absolutely unacceptable of this committee.
Yesterday, we learned of a horrific story that clearly demonstrates the malicious intent of these protesters occupying our city. They proceeded to light fire starter bricks near the elevators before taping up the door handles so residents would struggle to get out during a fire.
It was shortly after 5 a.m. Sunday when two men entered this Ottawa apartment building and started a fire.
I was up between 3 and 5 from the sounds of the honking.
This entire story was based on the tweet thread of a resident of the building named Matias Munoz.
Matias Munoz is an exception.
This is a perfect example of the situation that can arise.
As we see hate speech, we see illegal acts such as arson.
The incessant honking, the arson attempt.
Incessant honking, the arson attempts.
An attempted arson of a residential building.
We've seen the active sabotage of 911 emergency call lines and even an attempted arson.
Reports of attempted arson in some of the buildings.
And it certainly does not include arson or pushing into a residential apartment building and barricading the exit.
A conspiracy to murder, attempted arson of a residential building.
Over the past 3 weeks, we have watched assaults, attempted arson.
They have been living in fear that their apartment buildings may be torched by arson.
Seen assaults, attempted arson.
There's been attempted arson with the attempt of handcuffing doors shut so that if a fire started, people would be burned alive. And
death threats, an attempted arson.
A building had an attempted arson where the doors were taped shut.
Violence is commonplace. We saw an example of this violence, an attempted arson downtown of an apartment building where people started a fire. When they exited, they taped the door.
And just in case you were ridiculous enough to believe at the time that guy actually was associated with the Freedom Convoy, as was alleged, well, it turns out he isn't. His name is Connor McDonald. He's been charged with 5 arson and mischief offenses, and crucially, the police press release on his arrest says, quote, "There is no information indicating McDonald was involved in any way with the convoy protest."
You just wake up and find the first person with a flag and try and blame them for everything.
So it's not as busy as the weekend here.
I want to be very clear. We are not intimidated. The battle against COVID-19 is still dominating so many parts of our lives. And this morning, I learned I tested positive for COVID-19 as well. I feel well and have no symptoms. Of course, I'll be working remotely this week. I want to take this opportunity to remind Canadians to please get vaccinated.
There's a new trend on social media tonight, hashtag where is Justin Trudeau? He and his family were moved to an undisclosed location because the white knight of democracy could not handle a protest.
Trudeau flees as trucker convoys enters Ottawa.
Yeah, well, this Trudeau flees issue,
Let's be very clear how this all started. The Prime Minister decided to impose a vaccine mandate on truckers. There was no scientific proof or evidence that it was the right thing to do. Truckers opposed it. Many Canadians opposed it, but he went ahead with it anyway. Truckers came to Ottawa, and Justin Trudeau, first of all, hid for a week.
I don't like that. It's not like I view that with any sense of satisfaction or delight. Like, I'm not a fan of Trudeau because I don't think he's capable of saying an honest word.
And then he began to call them names and say that their opinion was unacceptable and we shouldn't tolerate these people. And that was about all he did.
Where is the process of dialogue?
Leader of the opposition.
The Prime Minister calls people he disagrees with racist, misogynist. He spent the last month wedging, dividing, stigmatizing and traumatizing Canadians. I understand the Prime Minister admires basic dictatorships, but let's remind the Prime Minister this is Canada. This is not a dictatorship.
Actually, forget dialogue. Why not release a statement or at least a tweet? It's not like Trudeau got logged out of the internet.
In the last few minutes, we've also been hearing from the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. His wife has tested positive for coronavirus. He is now in isolation. Let's have a listen to him.
We're thinking about all the families across the country who've received the same diagnosis. But we're in good hands. We have full confidence in Canada's health officials and professionals. This means that, upon my doctor's recommendation, I will remain in self-isolation for 14 days. I want to be clear, I have no symptoms, and I'm feeling good.
We continue to follow the large-scale protests against COVID-19 measures that have been persisting in Ottawa today with some breaking news. Ottawa Mayor Jim Watson is declaring a state of emergency to give the city more flexibility to deal with the ongoing demonstrations that have overwhelmed local resources.
What was deemed as a protest from the beginning is now seen as an uncontrollable occupation.
Our city is under siege. This group is emboldened by the lack of enforcement by every level of government.
Listen, I don't know if we should tell them this, Mr. Speaker, but we cannot hear the honking in here. You don't hear a single thing, and this was all last week, too. You don't hear a single thing in here. You don't. It has to fucking stop.
The honking will continue until freedom improves.
And you almost forget that it's even happening until you get up and leave and go outside and you see it again. Well, the member brought up my electric car. If he wants, we can talk about that for a while too. But fuck you. Meanwhile, all of the activities that have been going on.
You know, the scenes of the bouncy castles, the hot tubs, those other things, that's what happens on the weekend.
This protest has come here and just completely made the people that live here irate.
Everybody needs a hug.
It's impacting the people that live here.
This is history in Canada, and this is an important thing for them to see.
They've made their point, and now it's time to dispense of the activities and to go home.
And that's what we heard from the public safety minister yesterday, essentially saying they don't want to see another weekend of parties and hot tubs on Wellington Street.
I was just aghast this weekend that, you know, there's a bouncy castle and there's a hot tub. David, I wanted to go up there and poke that hot tub myself and let the water flow out of it and unplug that damn bouncy castle.
The city of Ottawa is in day 10, and as of tonight, in a state of emergency where thousands have been clogging the streets, building a shelter, and non-stop noise can be heard around Parliament Hill. Ottawa police took to Twitter today warning protesters that if demonstration supports are brought in, they may be arrested.
So, in fact, yes, they are taking fuel right away from people as they attempt to fuel their vehicles.
You take those cans off of that truck. Is that your property? It is now.
Ladies and gents, welcome back. So, Canadians will never cease to amaze me at the cleverness when they're put in the position where they're not allowed to do something. Recently, in Ottawa, they're making it very difficult for people to get fuel to their trucks at the protest, and started arresting people who were trying to bring fuel down to the truckers. So in response, we have here one of the greatest trolls in history will take place tomorrow. If you live in Ottawa, grab a jerry can and join the party. Everyone is going to be walking around with one in protest. You don't need gas, just a jerry can. So everyone's going to be walking around like this, exactly. And it already started yesterday, before the sun even went down. This is the scene in Ottawa. And what do the police do? What do you do to that?
I've been watching them handle this. They're playing this. It's been very peaceful for the number of people who were involved in the demonstration, and that's despite the potential effect of instigator types, and that's a real threat. They seem to be not taking the bait. And so I hope that continues, and that this proclivity to instigate, which would be extraordinarily convenient for Mr. Trudeau, and which is an easy out for him, I'm praying that doesn't happen.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So now that your job is done, do you actually believe the stuff that you say out of curiosity, or do you just kind of do the script that you're told to repeat? I'm just curious because you have destroyed my life, CBC. You write a lot of hit pieces about me. My family has been doxxed. I've received death threats.
Yes, I doxed the truckers! I did it! It was me! I had to give send go, baby! And I'd do it again!
And you've literally destroyed my life because I ask appropriate questions.
I do it 100 times! I did it! I did it! Come at me! What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do to me, huh?
And the way that you twist the truth. And I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and kids have never been happier than what has been created here. Why don't you show that truth? Do you see the smiles in the kids? Do you know what has been taken away from them these last 2 years? Do you know 6-year-olds have told me they wanted to cut themselves and kill themselves? Kids want to die because of the last 2 years. Why aren't you showing that? And now you're talking about kids' welfare safety?
You tell me right now, are my kids in danger for being here? Should I send them on the first train out of town? Tell me now.
It sounds like the Children's Aid Society is saying that
So
they are
you're
getting
saying that my kids are going to get hurt?
Because
you
I'm here
sold
to
your soul a
document
long
what's
time
happening
ago.
in the city of
You
Ottawa.
sold your soul a long time ago, and you sold your soul a long time ago.
Now you think kids should be taken from their parents out of these trucks?
Why are you coming here trying to act like you're concerned about kids?
I'm here to document.
I have
the
2
fact that they
teenagers
put
here
up
that are in my car. Are they in danger? Yes or no? Yes or no?
I don't know what the future brings. I don't.
Go fuck yourself then.
You're working for welfare services?
What they're showing, they're like.
But you're repeating it. You're repeating it, and people are believing it. Why do you think there's people out here counter-protesting? Why do you think Winnipeg, someone drove down 4 protesters purposely and put them in critical care? Why do you think there's actually violence and hate happening? Do you know how divisive this is? Yeah. Is this actually Canada?
After discussing with Cabinet and caucus, after consultation with premiers from all provinces and territories, after speaking with opposition leaders, the federal government has invoked the Emergencies Act.
Time takes a cigarette, puts it in your mouth, pull on your finger, then another finger, then your cigarette. Well, the wall-to-wall is calling, it lingers, but still you forget. Oh, you're a rock and roll suicide.
It is now time for people to go home, to take their trucks home, and to stop funding illegal blockades and occupation.
Well, you walk past the cafe, but you can't eat when you've lived too long. Oh, you're a rock and roll suicide. Now the ship breaks are snarling as you stumble across the room. Instead, so you hurry home. Don't let the sunlight blast your shadow. Don't let the milk float bind your mind. They're so natural, religiously
Amen. Amen. Happiness.
You're watching yourself, but you're so unfair. You got your head all tangled up, but if I can only make you care. You're not alone.
Here comes the horses. Look what you did! Look what you did to her! Look what you did to her! Look what you did to her!
Just give me your hands, 'cause you're wonderful. I said, give me your hands, 'cause you're wonderful. Give me your hands, 'cause you're wonderful. You give me your hands, 'cause you're wonderful. Give me your hands. Give me your hands.
I read a quote from Justin Trudeau, which was so dumb, and which one? What, is he always dumb? It was something like, but when you use protest to object to the policies of the government, I think you're going too far. Well, what the fuck is protest for?
All right.
right, you chipmunks. Ready to sing your song?
I'll say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, Simon?
Okay.
Okay, Theodore?
Okay.
Okay, Alvin? Alvin? Alvin!
When the Conservative Party looked at the Ottawa occupation, they thought, this is an expression of righteous anger, and we must support them. With Liberals, we looked at a group of people with a written agreement to overthrow the government, and we said, great idea, get Jagmeet on the phone. I myself spent a lot of time this year surrounded by honking and wailing. I don't know what their deal was, but the geese and loons at Harrington just wouldn't shut up. Of course, supply chain snarls and global inflation are hitting people hard. So we apologize if the meat was tough tonight or if you chip a tooth on a bread roll.
It was quite shocking, everything that happened in that protest, because they seized the bank accounts of 200 Canadians, and that was not amusing. And Trudeau has no idea what that did to Canada's international reputation.
As of today, a bank or other financial service provider will be able to immediately freeze or suspend an account without a court order.
Okay, wait, go back.
Mm-hmm.
They seized the bank accounts of what
200
people who were in the protest?
They seized some bank accounts of some people who only sent money to the protest.
As they invoke the Emergencies Act for the first time in Canadian history. But the question is, whose accounts can the government freeze?
So they
froze their credit cards, they froze their mortgage payments, they locked them out. So they locked them out of the financial system entirely.
That is creepy.
It's really bad.
So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate.
It's really bad. It was shocking.
Accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen.
Canadians aren't sufficiently shocked about it.
And that action is going to increase.
But partly because they don't really understand what that did to Canada's international reputation.
I could have said what I was trying to do was rally the bank CEOs. Like, don't let those guys say to you that Canada is a banana republic. We're a great country.
No trial, no real investigation. I can't imagine a politician doing anything more inappropriate than that. Plus, Trudeau claimed that the trucker convoy was financed by MAGA, Republican Americans, which is completely preposterous because, first of all, why would MAGA Republican Americans foment dissent in Ottawa? Like, even if they knew where it was, which they don't, and they don't care, and why would they?
That's true. The Canadian truckers, you've been reading about it. Who are resisting bravely these lawless mandates are doing more to defend American freedom than our own leaders by far.
But there they are, and God bless them. Stand beside them, and we're all truckers. And I hope something similar comes about in the United States.
We want those great Canadian truckers to know that we are with them all the way. They are. They've really shown something.
Canada needs to stand up for their freedoms. The mandates, they're total bull. Yay, truckers! Woo!
Hey, white boy, what you doing in town?
And then it was like literally MAGA Republican Americans funding the trucker protests in Ottawa.
Well, what would your solution be to the Ambassador Bridge blockade, the Coutts Alberta blockade, the protest in Ottawa? What, in your view, is the way to end it?
We need to stop the funds that are flowing in from the United States. Very clearly, foreign interference.
So, first of all, it was the Russians. It's like, oh yes, that's the Russians' primary concern.
Russia Today covered the so-called Freedom Convoy more closely than any other foreign outlet. But why? Here's what you need to know. One former FBI agent said Russia wants to see us, quote, tear ourselves apart. Experts say that when Russia saw the division around the so-called Freedom Convoy, they couldn't resist but to fan the flame.
He's never early.
impact on our economic security. And if our economic security is threatened, all of our security is threatened.
I'll be blunt as well. Housing isn't a primary federal responsibility.
Here at the shelter in Mississauga. And, all right, this is exactly the spot where a young man from Nigeria died last week, Wednesday.
A few days ago, I put a, sorry, let me start again. Sorry, I got my hands in my pockets. Should I do my normal hand talker thing? Give you more blooper reels here? Very careful what you look for.
I'm going to back it up. Are we going from the top again?
Yeah.
Now, you see the tents they were living in, you know. You can see it all the way down there.
For 30 years, sorry, my voice is like cracking on me here.
You know, and you just begin to imagine how are people expected to survive.
Affordable housing in this country. This great,
in this horrible condition with the current state of the weather, you know, with the cold.
I pulled into Nazareth, was feeling about half-past dead. I just need some place where I can lay my head. Hey, mister, can you tell me where a man might find a bed? He just grinned and shook my hand. No was all he said. Take a load off, Fanny. Take a load for free. Take a load off, Fanny. And you put the load right on me.
It's a terrible thing when Canada has become politically interesting. You know the world is close to ending when that's the case.
Well, and sometimes politically stupid.
Well, yeah, often. Living in Justin Trudeau's Canada, it's a never-ending hallucinogenic, surreal dream. Justin Trudeau's mode of governance is to top each scandal with a bigger scandal, and he's really good at that.
Another Liberal cabinet minister was called out today for breaking federal ethics rules by awarding 2 contracts to a friend she has known for nearly 20 years. The breach, the opposition says, is part of the government's pattern.
Will the minister resign?
Hours after the ethics report was released, the international trade minister was grilled in the House of Commons.
I have taken and I am taking full responsibility for my actions.
At issue, 2 contracts for media training granted by the trade minister's office to the public relations firm Pomp and Circumstance.
Unfortunately, the Prime Minister has set the low standard and now his ministers are living by it.
This kind of corruption, you know, not once but twice.
In addition to Ng, former Finance Minister Bill Morneau broke federal ethics laws 3 times during the We Charity scandal. Intergovernmental Affairs Minister Dominic LeBlanc broke the rules too, approving a business license for a company where a family member worked.
Mr. LeBlanc, could you tell me, do you know what the unemployment rate is right now?
We're not actually doing interviews on a bench here.
Oh, you're just smoking a cigar while millions of Canadians suffer. How's the cigar? Could you tell me why Minister Stephen Guilbeault is serving the Chinese Communist Party?
I think you spent too much time with a tinfoil hat on.
Many scientists I knew were unhappy with the lockdowns, were afraid to speak up. Many people were uncomfortable with lockdowns, but
scientists afraid to speak up.
Yeah.
We want to see the change
so that the next generation can, experience the freedoms we grew up knowing and loving. And we didn't see any misogyny, no racism. There was no anger, there was no violence. It was just heaven on earth. The energy was supreme.
Prime Minister, what discipline will Ing face? The Prime Minister has violated ethics laws in 2017 when he vacationed on the Aga Khan's private island, and in 2019 over his role in the SNC-Lavalin scandal when he tried to influence then Justice Minister Jody Wilson-Raybould.
What do you make of the extreme elements trying to latch onto the truck convoy this morning?
Well, what I think is interesting is that when there's a left-wing protest on Parliament Hill, we don't see the Liberal media going through every single name of the people who attends to try and find one person that they can disparage the whole group with.
And it was just unbelievable, the propaganda the media was spitting. Unbelievable. I've never seen it like that at that heightened level, calling people racist and misogynist. We never even experienced any of that 1 second that we were there. We try to tell people, come out there and see it for yourself. Like, stop listening to the news, turn it off, and be free.
Whenever you have 5,000 or 10,000 people who are part of any group, you're bound to have a number who have or say unacceptable things. But that doesn't mean we disparage the thousands of hard-working, law-abiding, and peaceful truckers who, quite frankly, have kept all of you alive.
I've been asked to say a few words to the truckers in Ottawa, and so I've given that some careful consideration. All you protesters, you've accomplished an awful lot already. The Conservative leadership has crumbled, and Aaron O'Toole has been replaced by someone who is giving a fair bit of voice to your concerns.
Police made a small number of targeted arrests.
You're now faced with a difficult choice, which is, what are your criteria for satisfaction?
Only a few trucks have left. Others repositioned to make it harder to tow them out.
You're also faced with a danger at the moment. The political process bends in the direction that you've insisted upon so rightly, in my estimation.
One of the main organizers of the so-called Freedom Convoy, Saskatchewan trucker Chris Barber, handcuffed and placed in a cruiser 3 blocks from Parliament Hill.
I'd like to commend all of you for your diligence and work on accomplishing what you have accomplished under trying conditions, and also for keeping your heads in a way that's actually been a model for the entire world. The fact that you've been able to remain peaceful, you haven't taken the bait, you haven't responded with violence to quite remarkable denigration and provocation. That's a sign of tremendous discipline and care. It allowed a sufficient victory to be sufficient, to move forward without rancor, to be grateful for the effect that you've already had and the support that you've received, and to move forward to a normative peace and the reestablishment of our country's economy and our psychological and social well-being. So that's pretty much all I have to say at this point. Thank you.
Despite pleas to move the children out immediately, many remain. The diesel to keep trucks running still flowing in, and the party continues on into what might be its final night.
Say that you're leaving, well, that comes as no surprise.
Last night, the convoy's lead organizer, Tamara Leach, predicted she might be headed to jail too.
I'll probably be going somewhere tomorrow where I'll be getting 3 square meals a day.
Just hours after visiting with protesters on the front lines tonight, pictures online showed her being arrested.
This ain't nothing new.
The trucker protest reached its final destination.
And the press, of course, they talk to the people who are unhappy.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of the thousands of people who were happy.
I think what they stand for is wrong, not backed by science, and shouldn't be in our city.
This man, one of a few counter-protesters.
I mean, I got my jacket ripped. I've been called racial and homophobic slurs all day.
All of the mess, all of the nightmare, everything Justin Trudeau threw at us, and Theresa Tam and Omar and Freeland and a lot of them.
He kicked me. I got a big bruise on the back of my thigh. Oh.
We just found this power amongst ourselves. And I still don't know if the convoy was the birth of our nationalism, like true nationalism. It looked like it to me. Or whether it was like a Viking funeral pyre of the death of the country our ancestors built. Well, that could be too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I don't know either. It kind of looks like the death knell right now.
We're in the process of fixing this, but it's going to be a longer process than we realized.
So they arrived in Ottawa, and it was a celebration for most people. Not everyone, but most
not
people.
Everyone.
But you can't expect it to be everyone, so that's just not going to happen. And then what was your part once the trucks arrived?